What's up guys, welcome back to the channel, and today I'm going to be doing a video where I rank every UFC pay-per-view of 2025 from worst to best. I figured with the pay-per-view season coming to an end for this year, once again, I figured it was only best that I do a ranking of all the videos from the dog shit tier list all the way up to the, well, it's not going to be a fucking tier list, but still, I'll start with the dog shit pay-per-views and work my way up to what I think is the best pay-per-view of the year. And it's pretty crazy to think that another year has come and gone already. Like, the first video on this channel I ever did, or at least MMA related, was a ranking video for all the 2024 pay-per-views. Not to get like sentimental or anything, but it's pretty crazy to think that we're a year later already. We've had many new champions and old champions reclaim their belts, and I may have gotten a lot of predictions wrong. A lot of fights I wanted to happen this year didn't happen, although to be fair, some of it we can blame on ducking. But with that being said, let's get into my ranking for UFC pay-per-views of 2025. Starting with, at the bottom of the list, at number 13, we have UFC 312, Duplessis versus Strickland 2. And yeah, this was a dog shit card. And that breaks my heart because I actually went to this one. You can actually check out the video on my channel of me going to this one in person. I did like a whole fucking vlog or whatever. But yeah, this card was just absolute dog shit on paper. And if it wasn't for the fact that I was at this event, I would have found it even worse. Like, just watching the main card, it was probably the weakest part of this thing. The main event was all right between Strickland and Duplessis. It would have been a bit more exciting if Strickland actually threw punches, but instead Duplessis, kind of put a masterclass on him. The co-main event was just mostly Whaley and fucking half guard raining down strikes. It was an fight. Talos and Teixeira got a pretty cool KO over Justin Tafa. And I guess Jimmy Crute versus whatever his fucking name was. I can't even remember. That was a decent fight. But Jake Matthews, oh my god, why the fuck is this guy on the main card of a pay-per-view? That fight fucking sucked. If I fell asleep in the arena watching it and zoned out, can you imagine what it'd be like at home? The prelims were actually pretty alright. Like, the Anshul, the King of Curry Jubilee, got KO'd in 19 seconds. Jonathan Mikalev and Kevin Jousset had a fun fight. Rong Zhu and I think it was Cody Steele, his name is. They had a fucking war. That was crazy. Toporia's brother on the card. We had a piss break with the women's fight. I actually got up out of my seat at the arena and just left to go grab some food, which fucking sucked, by the way. Never grab arena food. We had Tom Nolan versus Slava Claus, which was a decent fight, and Jack Jenkins versus Gabriel Santos, which was all right. Overall, it was okay to watch. Like, if I was watching this at home, it probably would have been even less exciting, but yeah, the name value of this card was absolutely shit. The fights, some were hits, some were misses. Overall, if I was watching it at home, I would have completely zoned out of half these fights. The only reason I was invested was because, I was there. I paid fucking $900 for a seat, and now they're coming back to Sydney. They've actually given us a good card this time, so I'm tempted to go, but at the same time, I don't want to cough up the fucking money. UFC, lower the fucking ticket prices. Jesus Christ. You're pricing out your own fans. But yeah, overall, this card was I don't know, a 3 out of 10. It really wasn't a great card. The only reason I have sort of a soft spot for this card was because I went to it. It was the first UFC event I went to. But if I'm talking objectively just about the name value and how the card went, this card fucking sucked. But sometimes name value doesn't mean an exciting card, which brings us to the next one. Coming in next at number 12, we have UFC 321 Aspinall versus Gane. And I was actually kind of hyped for this card because normally Abu Dhabi cards are stacked, and this card was no exception. Had some good name value, and man, this card, they just fucking dropped the fighters just dropped the ball. Oh, and by the way, these were my picks going into the card. Like, this is on my Instagram when I post my UFC predictions or whatever. But yeah, on paper, this seemed like a pretty good card. You had Aspinall versus Gane, the main event. You had My Girlfriend, the co-main. Umar versus Mario Batista in the feature fight. Volkov versus Almeida. Azmat Mirzakhanov versus Rakic. And even these prelims were pretty stacked. And the prelims were pretty good. I didn't watch the early prelims because it was like fucking 2 a.m. in Australia. I was asleep. But I woke up to watch the regular prelims, and Walter Walker got a pretty cool submission. Ludovic Klein and Mateusz Rebecki went to fucking war and just painted the canvas in blood. That was a beautiful fight. Iliskarov versus Parker was a fun scrap. And of course, Quillan Salkiel just fucking killed Nazarat Hakarov. However you fucking pronounce his name. But the main card is really where this shit fell off. And that's mostly what I'm ranking a lot of these are. Mostly on the main card. The prelims will have somewhat of an impact, but because it's pay-per-views, it's mostly going to be the main card. Yeah, the pay-per-view got off to a good start with Rakic getting KO'd by Mirzakhanov, but after that, they just dropped the ball. Volkov versus Almeida was an absolute fucking stinker, and I know a lot of people say that Almeida should have won. I don't care. The fight fucking sucked. Reward Volkov for actually trying to do damage. Umar versus Batista was, it was whatever. It was, The co-main event, my god. Can we stop putting 5-round women's fights on fucking pay-per-views or numbered events? Just, oh my god. And then I thought, surely the main event was going to deliver, and the main event was shaping up to be pretty good, but then it ends in a fucking eye poke. Like, bruh, the one fight on this card that was actually going to be good, and it ends in a fucking eye poke. That, combined with the fact that I was up from like 3 a.m., this card was just a drag to get through. It was probably the second worst pay-per-view of the year. It's about a solid 3.5 out of 10. Not a good card. Moving on to the next one. Coming in next at I think is number 11, we have Holloway versus Poirier 3, or UFC 318. And I kind of have mixed feelings about this card because I'll be honest, this was not a very stacked card. Honestly, this should have been a fight night. Like, there was no reason this card should have been a pay-per-view. They should have just, put an actual title fight on this card and had Poirier co-main, or just made it a fight night and then had another card be a pay-per-view with an actual title fight. But they could have moved Gon versus Aspinall forward, but whatever. Anyway, the prelims were alright. We got a pretty good KO from Gutierrez. I can't pronounce his name. Vittori and Allen had an awesome fight. Even Vinicius Oliveira had a fun fight. I didn't watch Johnson versus El Huber. I was watching some of the Tim Tszyu fight that was on at the same day. Ige and Pitbull was just dull. I'll be honest, Holland and Rodriguez was actually a pretty fun fight, but genuinely, how the fuck did Holland lose that? Costa versus Kopylov was just sad, mostly because, everyone hyped up Roman Kopylov. Like, Lucas Tracy once said this dude beats Whitaker and Adesanya, and watching him getting the fuck beat out of him by Paulo Costa was just straight up sad. So yeah. And then the main event was a pretty good fight as well. Like, it was pretty much what you expected. Poirier looked kind of old. I mean, he didn't look completely washed, but it was clear he'd slowed down and he wasn't quite the same as what he once was. But overall, it was a decent card. All the fights went to decision, which definitely slowed down the momentum of the card a bit. Like, it would have been nice if we got some more finishes, but it wasn't a terrible card. It just wasn't one that I really thought was worth paying for. Like I said, this should have been a fight night. If it was a fight night, I probably would have thought much more fondly of this card, but because it was a pay-per-view, it just, I don't know, it kind of just felt like a waste of time, in my opinion. But yeah, I'd give this card about a 4.5 out of 10. Coming in at number 10, we have UFC 313, Pereira versus Ankalaev. I'm not going to lie, I was actually pretty hyped for this card. I think a lot of us were, because it was Pereira going up against his toughest test. And this card overall was kind of a mixed bag. Like, obviously, we were really hyped for the main and co-main. The rest of the card was alright. But starting off the bat, we lost Blades versus Kuniev the day of or the day before, so that fucking sucked. Van versus Sura, however you pronounce his fucking name. That was a fun fight. I didn't watch most of these prelims, to be honest with you. But starting off the main card, Mauricio Rufy fucking killed Bobby Green, so that got off the card to a good start. Lemos versus whatever the fuck. Yeah, no one gave a fuck. I zoned out. And even the ref stopped that fight like 10 seconds early because even he was so fucking bored. Turner versus Bahamondes was a pretty cool finish from Bahamondes, although Jalen Turner did kind of give it up a bit in the fight. Fizzy versus Gaethje was a fun scrap. It was nothing fantastic. It was pretty much just a repeat of that first fight. I'm really disappointed we couldn't get Gaethje versus Hooker. But it is what it is. And the main event, just fucking killed the momentum of the card. It was actually shaping up to be a pretty decent card. We got some decent finishes. A fun scrap in the co-main, yeah, a shitty women's fight. But if the main event had ended the way the first or the second fight did, I think this would have been a much better card. But the main event, man, just ruined the momentum. Ankalaev stunk it up against an injured Pereira, an injured fucking sick Pereira. And he couldn't even get a finish, yet people go, oh, he dominated. He took him to a 48-47 decision that arguably could have gone Pereira's way. I mean, I don't think Pereira won this fight, but it was quite close. Like, just a couple more exchanges and Pereira actually could have won this fight. Like, he was that close. And then the rematch, Pereira just dominated him. But we'll get to that later. Overall, this card's about a 5 out of 10. It was decently stacked. Some fights were fun, some fights weren't. But overall, it was just kind of an iffy card. Moving into number 9, we have a card which I think a lot of people give shit, but I actually don't think was that bad of a card, mainly because of the main event. And it's UFC 315, Muhammad versus Della Maddalena. And normally Canada gets pretty shitty cards, and I'll be honest, on paper, this wasn't the most stacked card. But the main card wasn't too bad. I mean, yes, we did have 2 women's fights on the main card, but actually, what's the but? I mean, anyway, let's get into it. The card kicked off with Benoit St. Denis getting a pretty cool finish. Then we had my 2 girlfriends going at it, just scissoring each other for 3 rounds. Yeah, that actually wasn't that bad to watch, mainly because they're very hot. So I was kind of able to get through. Actually, I didn't even watch this fucking card. That's the thing, it was Mother's Day, so I only watched the main event on a fucking TikTok stream. But I looked at some of the highlights, and yeah, Grasso versus Silva. Good stuff, very, very hot stuff. Aldo versus Eamon Zahabo. Yeah, that was a pretty fun scrap. I mean, it was a fucking robbery. And how the fuck is Eamon Zahabi getting, how is he so far up the rankings now? Like, Jesus Christ. Yeah, we're not going to talk about that co-main. Let's pretend that didn't happen. And the main event was a fucking beatdown where JM just beat the shit out of Bilal for 5 rounds. I don't know how idiots actually think Bilal won that, but it was a fucking beautiful fight. And yeah, overall, this was actually a pretty decent card. Yes, we had that god-awful co-main, but all the men's fights were fun, and one of the women's fights was 2 hot chicks going at it, so it wasn't that bad of a card. Also, Mike Malott fucking killed, I think it was it was Charles Radke, fuck. I don't care about the rest of these prelims, but yeah, moving on to the next card. Coming in at number 8, we have UFC 319, Duplessis versus Chimaev. And this card is proof that the main event makes or breaks a card, kind of like what I was talking about with the last one. And even with Pereira versus Ankalaev, where the main event can determine how good a card really is. Because at the end of the day, that's what we're going for. And this card had potential to be like a top 5 card of the year. And it was shaping up to be that way, because starting off the main card, we had Elliott versus Asakura, which was a pretty good comeback submission from Tim Elliott. Cannonier versus MVP was a decent fight. We got some cool knockdowns from MVP. It would have been nice if he followed up and actually got a finish, but it was a good performance. Carlos Prates fucking killed Jeff Neal live on pay-per-view. That was fucking sick, and it was a fun fight leading up to that. The co-main event, once again, Murphy fucking slaughtered Aaron Pico with that spinning elbow. And Pico was actually doing all right at the beginning of the fight, but got caught with a huge spinning elbow. And then the main event fucking ruined it. Even some of these prelims were fun. Hamzat's butt buddy, I can't even pronounce his name, got a pretty good win. Chase Hooper got finished. Barbosa and Close had a fun fight. But yeah, the main event, oh my god, this was the worst main event of the year. Definitely the worst title fight of the year. That's not even a question. Even worse than some of these women's fights. Yes, this was worse than Shevchenko versus fucking Fiera. This was worse than Whaley versus Suarez. Worse than Shevchenko versus Whaley, too. This one was fucking abysmal. Is this seriously what Dana wants? Does he seriously want these fucking Russians as champions when they're just going to stink up main events? And Hamzat's already ruining the division by being inactive. I swear, I'm praying Imavov fucking smokes this dude, even though it won't happen. But yeah, overall... Oh yeah, I forgot to say, the last card, UFC 315, was like a 6 out of 10. I'm going to say this card is about 6.5, 7 out of 10. I'll say 6.5, mainly because the main event was so fucking bad that it just killed the card. But yeah, moving on to number 7. And at number 7, we have UFC 316, Dvalishvili versus O'Malley 2. And I'm not going to lie, I wasn't really looking forward to this card that much. I don't think a lot of people were, because the main event was a fucking undeserved title fight. Co-main event, it was whatever. I mean, it was one of the few women's fights I was actually somewhat intrigued about, and it ended in a finish, so I can't complain. But this card actually ended up being kind of fun. We got Cool and Salkild coming back on the prelims. We had Wang Kong kind of doing her thing. We had, I think Waldo Cortez Acosta beat Sergey Spivak, I can't remember. Murzakanov did his thing. Fucking Korean McGregor got a beautiful KO, and Joshua Van put an absolute beat down on not I don't say Gene Silva, Bruno Silva. But yeah, these prelims were pretty fun. And then the main card as well, Kevin Holland got a pretty good finish over Luque. Batista fraud checked Patchy Mix. Pfeiffer beat the shit out of Gaslam for 2 rounds and then kind of slowed down. And Kayla Harrison actually finished a fight. We actually got a women's fight that ended in a finish, I mean to say. I felt like I was in the Ronda Rousey era. Yeah, so now we don't have to deal with fucking Pena's dumbass anymore. And then the main event, Dvalishvili actually finishes O'Malley. Like, I'm not going to lie, these fights were all pretty fun. Even the women's fight was actually a decent watch, which is crazy. So yeah, I actually wasn't looking forward to this card. The name value was kind of eh. I mean, it wasn't terrible. There were definitely some decent names on this card. Like Piper, we had Batista. Like, even the prelims, I'd argue the prelims were more stacked than the main card. But overall, this card delivered. It was actually a pretty fun watch, despite the fact that I wasn't looking forward to it that much, given that the main event was an undeserved title fight. But I'm going to have to give this card a 7 out of 10. Like, I actually had a good time watching this card. And a friend of mine who I got introduced to the UFC, the same one that was in the car the other day, fucking around, yeah, this was his first card, and he actually really enjoyed it. But yeah. Coming in at number 6, and originally I was going to put this up at number 5, but I changed my mind. I swapped it with the one that's in number 5. But anyway, at number 6, we have UFC 322, Della Maddalena versus Makhachev. And once again, this was proof where the main event makes or breaks a card, because this was shaping up to be a generational card. Like, some of these prelims were really fun. Like, Wellmaker and Ewing went to fucking war. My girlfriend got absolutely bitched around, sadly. Kopylov and Rodriguez had a fun scrap. Bo Nickel fucking killed a man. And then the main card was shaping up to be legendary, because not only was it a stacked card, we had a women's fight that I was actually looking forward to. Benoit St. Denis fucking killed Beneil Dariush in like 16 seconds. Leon Edwards, bruv, headshot that, bruv. I was fucking sleepy, bruv. Carlos Prates fucking killed Leon Edwards on pay-per-view, so that was also fun. And then next, fucking Michael Morales with his zesty ass stance came out and just zested his way to a victory against Sean Brady and just beat the shit out of him. And it was shaping up to be a legendary card. And then Shevchenko versus Zhang was where it came to a halt, where things started to slow down. I just thought, fair enough, it's a fucking women's fight. They're not meant to be exciting. But the main event is really what ruined it. I mean, it wasn't as bad as the Hamzat versus Duplessis fight. Like, there was some action at least. Islam actually attempted submissions, actually threw strikes on the feet, damaged JDM's calf. And even then, JDM did have some moments where, like at the beginning of the fight and even halfway through the third, where he was landing some punches, and there was some moments that were exciting. But yeah, overall, this fight fucking sucked and definitely ruined the card. Like I said, this could have been an absolute legendary card. Like, if the main and co-main delivered, this definitely would have been number 1. But because of that, it definitely bumps it down. Overall, I'll give this card like a 7 out of 10. Like, the first 3 fights was just so damn good, I kind of have to, give it a high rating. But not to mention the hype before. Like, this was my most hyped card for the year. But the main and co-main really just let us down, and that's what brings this card down to number 6. Moving on to number 5. Coming in at number 5, it was originally going to be number 6, but I changed my mind. We have UFC 317, Topuria versus Oliveira. And yeah, this is actually a pretty fun card. I mean, it kind of fell apart last minute. We lost some fights. We lost my boy Manel Cap on the card. We lost Kopylov versus Costa. And yeah, let's get into it. The prelims were alright. We had my girlfriend get a win. Rodriguez fucking killed Hermanson. And then looking at the main card, Frank Ocean's boyfriend got a good rebound against Lima in a decent fight. Beneil Dariush and Hanato Moicano had a fun fight. Joshua Van and Brandon Royval had probably the fight of the year. They went to fucking war and beat the shit out of... Well, mainly Joshua Van was beating the shit out of Royval in certain moments. Pantoja fucking destroyed that little goblin, Kai Kara France. That was fun to watch. And yeah, the main event was just a brutal masterclass from Ilia Topuria. Like, this is a good International Fight Week card. It's not the best International Fight Week card we've had, but it was definitely a fun card. Like, watching this card live, the card was moving along smoothly. The co-main and main fucking, like, put a stamp on this card. Like, the rest of the card, the first 3 fights were, like, they were getting better. The card got better as it went along, sort of. I mean, Joshua Van Royval was definitely the highlight of the night, but the main and co-main definitely lived up to expectations and definitely put a stamp on this card as one of the best of the year. Overall, I'd give this card about an 8 out of 10. It was a pretty good card. It could have been a little better if we had just a little bit more name value, given that it was International Fight Week, but what can I say? These fights were just really fun. Coming in at number 4, we have UFC 311, Moicano versus Makhachev. And man, this card had me thinking 2025 was actually going to be a goated year for the UFC. Like, I remember when they announced this card, when it was supposed to be Islam versus Arman, I thought they were starting the year off with a bang, and it seemed like that. Not to mention they announced 2 title fights on the card, and 2 good title fights is very rare. We get a lightweight and bantamweight title fight these days on the same card. And the undercard as well was stacked. We were originally meant to have Beneil Dariush versus fucking Moicano on the card, but fucking Arman pulled out last minute and kind of just killed the card. But yeah, Peyton Talbot got fraud checked on the prelims. Fucking Bogdan Gushkov did his thing. Grant Dawson and Diego Ferreira had a fun scrap. And now looking at the main card, right off the bat, Holland and Doretta ended in a finish from Doretta, where he proved that Kevin Holland just doesn't really care about his career and got his run started. Almeida versus Spivak actually ended in a finish. Like, it wasn't a 3-round stinker from Jailton Almeida. He actually, went for the finish, and it was, over quickly. Prohaska and Hill went to fucking war and beat the shit. Well, Prohaska beat the shit out of Jamal Hill and made us all happy. Umar versus Merab was the fight of the night. Like, I was dreading this fight because I thought that Umar was going to fucking win and we were going to hear about it. But not. Merab went out there and it was a competitive at first, but eventually Merab took over in the later rounds and made every single Dagestani fan cry. And yeah, I don't think anyone was surprised about the main event. It pretty much went exactly how we thought it was going to go. I really wish it could have been Arman. Like, that could have also made this one of the best, if not the best card of the year if Arman hadn't pulled out and the card stayed as it was. But what can I say? Overall, this was a fun card. This was an 8.5 out of 10 card easily. Coming into the top 3, starting off at number 3, we have UFC 320, Ankalaev versus Pereira 2. And once again, I was dreading this card because I thought it was just going to be Ankalaev fucking doing his thing and beating Alex Pereira and locking him, pretty much ending his career for good. But I couldn't have been more wrong and couldn't have been more happier. I made a fucking edit about Alex Pereira. Sort of. It was a pretty lazy edit. But yeah, this card was pretty stacked. Like, when they announced, I was like, this is going to be a beautiful card. If only Pereira would win, which he did. But yeah, starting off with the prelims as well were pretty fun. Fucking Patchy Mix got fraud checked yet again. Korean McGregor lost, and Gutierrez, or whatever, however you pronounce his name, the new Francis Ngannou got a beautiful KO. But yeah, starting off with the main card opener, Joe Piper fucking turned the body cam off against Abbas Magomedov and fucking killed him. Yusuf Zalal made pretty easy work of Josh Emmett and submitted him, which surprised me. Yuri versus Khalil lived up to expectations and was a fun fight. So far, that's 3 finishes on the card, 2 submissions and a knockout. And then the co-main event between Merab and Sandhagen was a pretty fun scrap. I don't know why people said it was boring. It was, trust me, you have not seen boring. That was actually a pretty fun fight. The only boring fight Merab's really had, I'll be honest, was the Aldo fight. That fight fucking sucked, but every fight he's had since then was actually been pretty fun. And then the main event, oh my god, this was cinema. I literally rocked up to the gym the next day with a fucking Alex Pereira show, and this shit was just legendary. Like, I thought Pereira was going to lose for sure. I think we all did. And he went out the gates, just pressed Ankalaev from the start, and fucking knocked him out. And the UFC posted the knockout. They were that fucking psyched about it. I can't blame them. I was too. But yeah, this card was just legendary. On top of that, I had a really good day out with my friends while this card was on as well. So yeah, this card was just, it was cinema. I was contemplating putting this at number 1, but 2 more cards happened that were just a little bit better. But I'm going to give this a fucking 9.5 out of 10. Like, this card, it was just that damn good. Like, maybe a 9.3 out of 10. I think that's a little more fair. Because it was great, but not the absolute best. But let's go into number 2. Coming in at number 2, we have UFC 323, Dvalishvili versus Yantu. And what could possibly be better than Pereira destroying that inbred mutant freak Ankalaev and regaining his belt? Piotr Yan coming back and putting on a masterclass. I know I like Merab, but come on, it's fucking Piotr Yan. When we were all doubting him, when we thought he had an even less chance of winning than Pereira did. And not to mention he won me a shit ton of money. So did Joshua Van. That's kind of why. But yeah, this card was just straight violence. Like, my god. We got a beautiful war on the prelims between one fight, which I said I didn't care about, which is hilarious because that ended up being one of the best fights of the card. Barbosa versus Turner, pretty much went how you expected it. Abdul Malik, or whatever, however you say his fucking name, he got a pretty good win over Anthony Trocoli, a standing guillotine. Ferreira beat up Marvin Vettori, that was expected. Fares Siam got a good win and is now ranked. Duncan fucking destroyed McKinney. Like, that's... What is McKinney needs to hang it up. Manuel Torres destroyed Grant Dawson. Man, I feel for that guy. And the main card was just straight violence. Like, we had Bogdan Gushkov versus Jan Blachowicz going to war, which ended in a draw, and I honestly think it was fair. Like, Jan won the first and last round. The second round was a 10-8. He did get dropped and was busted open badly with those elbows. Frank Ocean's boyfriend beat the fuck out of Henry Cejudo, which again was pretty exciting. Listen, guys, I think fucking he's gonna throw strikes, you guys. Seriously, guys. Yeah, I'm surprised Cejudo didn't get finished. Respect to him for eating that. Tatsuro Taira was the first man to finish Brandon Moreno, which genuinely shocked me. I thought if he was going to finish, it'd be with a submission, but it was a fucking ground and pound stoppage. Pantoja's arm broke. That definitely kind of made it sad a bit. But what can I say? I won money, so at least something good came out of it. But I feel for Pantoja, man. And the main event is really what brings this card so fucking hype, because my God, Jan went out there and put on a fucking just... I'm still shocked by how fucking cool it was. And this was 3 days ago as of the time I'm recording this video. But man, it was just gorgeous. Fight of the night, arguably, honestly, fight of the year, performance of the year. Give Jan all the fucking bonuses. I can't wait for his second title reign. He's beating Marab in the trilogy. He's beating Umar Nurmagomedov's inbred ass. And he's fucking destroying Sean Cuck Malley in the rematch. But yeah, Jan winning back the belt. I did not see this coming. And holy shit, it was so good. Plus, I won so much money on it. And now, it's only fair to move on to the number one pick. Coming in at number one, I have to put Volkanovski versus Lopez. I was hyped for this card because it was probably the most stacked card at this point during the year. Plus, I'm Australian, so I'm always going to have a soft spot for Volk. Like, these top three cards have all been comeback main events. And man, the prelims were pretty fun, you know. But we're mostly going to talk about the main card, mostly because I need to wrap this video up. This is probably one of my longest videos yet. But yeah, kicking off the main card, Dominic Reyes got a comeback KO. Once again, continuing his comeback streak before fucking male stripper Carl Solberg ended it, but whatever. It is what it is. But yeah, that was a beautiful KO. Pretty much McGregor Aldo number 2 to open up the main card. Then Gene Silva put a masterclass on Bryce Mitchell and made a name for himself, and maybe bind on the hype a little too much, but that was fun. Yair Rodriguez versus Patricio Pitbull was a decent fight. We got a knockdown in the fight. It was alright. The co-main event, Michael Chandler got absolutely brutalized by Paddy Pimblett. And Paddy Pimblett proved that he's not a complete fraud, so that was fun. And it was just the energy in the pub was just through the roof. And then the main event, I thought Volk was done. I thought he was going to get brutally KO'd again, and it was just going to be sad. But he came back and became the first fighter to beat the 35-year-old curse and put a masterclass on Diego Lopez. So bad to the point that I cannot believe they're actually doing a fucking rematch in Volk's very next fight. But it was just a beautiful way to end a beautiful card. And this card was one of the few cards I would actually want to pay the full $80 for. In Australia, we only have to pay $60, but I'd be willing to pay $80 for this card. And I'd be willing to pay $900 to... Why couldn't Sydney get this fucking card? I know the taxes here are crazy, but can they just give the fighters more money? Which they seem to be doing. But yeah, overall, this card was just a fucking masterpiece of cinema. It's one of the best cards we've had in a long time. I mean, we did have UFC 300 last year. But yeah, I kind of just have to put this as the number one. It's close. Oh yeah, and I forgot to do my rankings. For UFC 323, it was fucking 9.5. This was a 9.7, almost close to a perfect card. It would have been a 10 out of 10 if Yair versus Pitbull was just a little bit more exciting. It was a decent fight, but it was by no means a bad fight. We got a knockdown in the card, and Yair kind of schooled him. And just like that, we bring an end to another year of pay-per-views. And honestly, I think overall this year was a better year than 2024. I mean, we may not have had a UFC 300 or a UFC 299 or a 298 all back-to-back. I mean, to be fair, we did get a couple of UFC 298s basically, but at the same time, we also didn't have to sit through a UFC 297 or a 309 or a 302. So overall, I'd say it was an improvement. And with that, we bring this video to a close, as well as another season of UFC pay-per-views. And we've had some good pay-per-views, some crappy pay-per-views, but, you know, this is my personal ranking of all the lists. Of all the pay-per-views this year, sorry. But yeah, please like this video, subscribe, hashtag all hail the Marlin Army, comment, send this video to all your friends so that I can quit my jobs. And I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.